This is the Sattler Files.
You're with the Sattler Files. My name is Murray Korff, and I'm talking with John Ryan, who's a security, terrorism, all sorts of expert. G'day, John.
G'day. How's that for Australian?
Not bad, not bad.
Oh,
it needs a bit of work, but it's passable.
Somebody else called me an American on the weekend. I said, man, I'm more Australian than you'll ever be.
But your accent it's a sort of a mix of several.
Of a lot of travel?
Yeah, look, I'm sure that's the reason for
Inshallah.
it. But yeah. But there is a bit of American in there. I can pick that.
I got to admit, I found that when I first started teaching in the US, they found it hard to understand me.
Yeah.
And obviously, being Australian, when I first went there, I was tried to be very awkward like they wanted.
Yes. Yeah.
But I knew that some people, it was in the 60s, I was only a young man, and I remember the first American I spoke to when he found out, he heard me and he said, "Hey man, you all British, you all limey?" I said,
I've had that.
I said, "No mate, I'm Australian." He says, "Is that right?" I said, "Yeah mate." He said, "What sort of car did you drive up?" And I'm going, "What?
Yeah.
And do you have a pet kangaroo?" And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do."
Yeah.
I did have one for a little while.
Is that right?
Yeah, I saved it off the road. I was stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we're going to talk.
Let's get on to some stuff here.
Yeah, let's get on to some stuff. We've got the elections coming up.
We're going to talk about corruption.
Well, yes, we can talk about corruption, but we haven't got all day.
No, okay. Yeah,
well,
or all week for that matter.
There's so many things that are there, but is security something that needs to be tightened in an election campaign where you've got the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition and other sundry politicians going out there and spruiking?
I find here that even our leaders still think, "Oh no, that won't happen."
But there is a real possibility,
and there is.
Isn't there?
Look, I remember I was in the Waldorf Towers when Bob Hawke was staying there. He was in the floor above me, actually, naturally.
Yes.
And I knew one of his protection team, and it was massive, absolutely massive. And now I see that it's not as big as what it used to be. But I'm sure that they second states as they arrive in each state. Protection unit guys would join in with the feds. And I'm sure that they're a lot more discreet. I'm sure in Australia we're a lot more discreet than the Americans and some of the like the Indonesians. I've worked in teams. We had I looked after Tommy Sahada once when he came down here, and we had a fairly large team.
Yeah. So the risks.
I think the risk is real, but I think it's more likely to be verbal and slightly physical attack. But do you remember when Prince Charles was here, the guy ran across firing a gun at him, and none of the team stopped him.
No.
It was blanks.
Yeah.
But I was amazed
Yeah.
that he could get that close. If that gun had been real.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had a prince, would we?
Well, not only that, did you notice at the time that it was somebody on the podium with him that threw himself around, who was not a protection agent at all. So.
Oh, he wasn't?
No, he wasn't. No, he was another speaker.
Oh, my Lord. Is
that right? I know. That's what I mean. It's just in Australia we seem to be a lady I was connected with a long time ago. She was worked in the Air Force, and Prince Charles requested her when he was at Timber Top in his plane. She was on the planes with his security. She was an Air Force lady, and her and I were very close at one stage. And that was pretty slack too. And I know at Choggum in 2011. My son and I were seconded by the Indian government people because they walked out. We were going to be drivers, and they walked out, and one of them recognized me. And he said, "Oh, so Mr. John." So we looked after them, but I noticed that it was very extremely obvious when the Queen was coming, especially when our Emperor spent $20 million on a new office for himself. That couldn't have helped anybody here, could it? 20 million?
No,
I think she was there 20 minutes. I'm sure she would have been impressed.
Yeah.
What's that, $1 million a minute? And now she got Elizabeth Key, which is infected and doesn't work. So that's,
Well, until it does work, we're calling it Betty's Jetty system.
Betty's Jetty.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Betty's Jetty for a while, but, I think our Emperor should step down.
Mm-hmm.
But and why not? I mean, he's going to get paid the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You're getting paid by your ex-employer, aren't you?
No.
Oh, really? That's unusual. I thought all ex-employers.
Sadly, no, John. I wish that it were. But
do you want to know that that's why the American car industry started going really bad? That the
Indeed.
unions had done a deal that until you got a job, if you got sacked or lost your job in the American car industry in Detroit, that you would be paid until you got another job.
Yeah, but by the company.
By the company.
Yeah.
Not by the government.
No.
So that's why the companies were starting to hurt.
Yeah.
Because that was another rort. So we got away from elections, didn't we?
We did a little bit. But just getting back to security, I mean, drive-by shootings have been a bit of a thing just recently, haven't they? And I guess that's where I was coming from with the security thing for the political figures, all of, not just the Prime Minister and the leader of the Oppo, but everybody. There's a lot of politicians out and around, and drive-by shootings would have to be considered a security risk. Well, if you remember,
and I think it was about 25, 30 years ago, we did have a shooting of one of our politicians, remember, through the window of the car. I'm trying to remember who it was, back in John Gorton days.
Is that right? I don't remember that.
Yeah. And he actually went up to I'm sorry, my memory is gone, but I remember because I was a little bit active then, and it was really interesting that we actually had an Australian politician where someone actually fired into his car.
Good Lord, and missed, obviously.
And missed, yeah. They're not that well trained. But the trouble is now they are. That's another thing. We have so many other countries, special forces people here who are here as refugees, and some of them came over. I remember the bikie gang being shot at here, and they realised the guy that shot at him was a trained sniper. So he could have been Australia, New Zealand, or any other country. But now we have the gangsters from Lebanon and everything who are now running the drugs and everything and organised crime and advertising on the net for jihadists in Sydney. And officially, just between 2011 March and 2016, there's been over 50 drive-bys in Sydney alone, just in the suburbs. So, and of course, firearm laws don't apply to these people.
No, of course not.
That's why I hate listening to Johnny Howard running around like an idiot. And in Melbourne, so far this year alone, 36. It is not beyond my comprehension that could happen to a minor, like a member of the Greens Party, for instance, or another member of a state legislature. But we don't seem to have the intense cover. No. And I think it is a security risk, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I remember going back to, you mentioned John Howard just then, when he made the announcement, he went to a public rally of some description, and he actually had a vest on, I don't know what bulletproof,
they
call it?
Yeah, it's referred to as that. Yeah. Kevlar vest or...
something
whatever.
like that. And he was pilloried for that. Yes. He really was. But do you think that he was wise to do that?
I think it made sense to me.
Yeah.
I'd rather... See, this is the difference between security and policing. And I wear both hats depending what country I'm in. So security is proactive for prevention measures. Policing, majority of it is reactive.
Okay, so cleaning up after something.
Cleaning up after the mess and investigating and bringing it to a conclusion. So the only thing I would have done was, quite frankly, I would have given him body armor, which you don't see, rather than to have a overt vest that everybody knew about. But, you know, when politicians have visited our troops, they do wear protective gear for obvious reasons. They're in a zone. But the whole thing is here at public rallies, and especially something sensitive like that, and even for this re-election, I believe that the principals, and I've done it with principals I've worked overseas with, we actually fit them with body armor. You can't see it. It's very thin. Dyneema is one of the new paneling systems we use. And they can wear their shirt and tie, as they favour here, the blue tie, because some psychologists told them it's an honest colour, which I think is beautiful. Yes. I do the same thing with interrogators. I teach the same thing. We wear blue shirts where possible. I do take my black shirt off now and again, especially when I'm doing interviews and interrogations. But I think, I don't know, as a security risk assessment professional with 5 decades, I would say I don't believe enough duty and due care is taken with some of our minor politicians.
Okay.
And the way things are at the moment, especially
Well,
the way things are at the moment.
That's because there's a lot of discontent, a lot of anger out there, isn't there? And you just need somebody to get an idea into his head, and all of a sudden you've got an incident.
Well, I mean, we're in a situation now where we even have Bin Laden's son now preaching more hate, and that they should be attacking, everybody should be attacking us and America.
This is Bin Laden's son, is it?
Bin Laden's son, yeah. He actually, he's gone in public and made some statements. So, and of course that would bring some, you never know who's going to be affected by all this. That's the problem. And of course the most amazing thing is that, by the way, that's another thing I found out when I was talking to somebody just recently. One of the streets in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, one of the main streets, has the same name as the leader of Daesh. And they have, after pressure for 3 years, they still haven't changed the name of the street. And just as another matter of interest, which is going to create even more problems for everybody, is it's just been cleared legislatively in the US 24 hours ago. Secret papers were released that have been hidden away since 2002 because parts of the Saudi government were involved in the 9/11. They assisted Bin Laden and his people because of family connections, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, well, it's just been released. Now the American government has paved the way clear, civilly and governmentally, for the families of the victims to sue Saudi Arabian government in the USA.
Wow.
So
stand by.
Watch this space.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? That's going to have reverberations everywhere.
I'll bet it does.
In every political sense in Australia. And we've got to get away from this attitude, we're cut off from everybody. We don't have the problems. We've got the problems.
We do. They're right on our doorstep.
Did we just have 5 idiots, one of them in Iman, driving all the way up to the north? Now, why did our FedPol guys grab them? But when we had Australians coming back with heroin, the Bali 5 or 7, whatever they were, they notified the Indonesians, which they weren't supposed to do. They're supposed to pick them up here because we have an agreement. If a country has executions, death sentence, we don't put Australian citizens in their hands. We pick them up. Now, they knew they were going to be here arriving. They didn't pick them up. They got in touch with the Indonesian government and had them picked up there. I think a couple have already been executed.
Yes, 2 of them, yep.
But we grabbed this Iman and this other bunch of idiots that are going to go via Indonesia to join the Syrian ISIL. Why didn't we let them go and contact the counter-terrorism people in Indonesia?
That would have been a far better idea because we're going to pay for these guys if they are convicted because, let's face it, they haven't been to court yet. If they are convicted.
But according to my information, it will cost $400 to $500 per day per person to keep them incarcerated.
That's right. And that's what everybody is talking about because why? Look, I mean, the truth is in that size boat, they might not even get to Indonesia. They might be...
Well, isn't that why we stopped the boats? Because we're humanitarian, because there were so many drowning? If I remember the Greens...
yeah, they got all thingy about it.
Didn't the Greens used to be the Communist Party, or am I wrong with that?
The way they're acting, they could well be, couldn't they?
Well, I thought the original leaders and everything started off from the Communist Party, yeah.
Okay.
Like I told you, politics, sport and religion I have no time for in my life, but I do... remember little things.
What's that thing about religion? It's an opiate for the masses.
Yes. Well, I still have my little thing about Christianity as well.
Yeah, me too.
Well, did I send it to you?
I'm not
sure. But anyway, so politics are really going strong at the moment. Although now, the one thing I will say, and I did post this myself, the question that not one media has asked in the US is Hillary and Bill, that he didn't have sex with that woman. They have done nothing but been public servants from the day they started work, from the time they left university, if you remember. They worked in state, federal, and whatever.
Yeah.
And then when Bill was kicked out, he did a lot of public speaking. It's like hiring Roger Rogerson. Why the hell would you want to listen to this idiot? But anyway.
Yes.
Here's an interesting question asked. Here's an interesting question asked. I'm venting today.
Yes, it seems like you've got a few things on your chest you want to get off.
Well, I have. I got too much. I've been doing too much research. Here's a question none of the media are asking in America, because I don't think they want to upset Hillary. How can two people working as public servants for their whole professional life amass US $200 million net and still be legal?
There's got to be a question there somewhere, doesn't there?
I mean, I got to think about that.
Because the truth is that as president, he doesn't get a lot of money.
President gets less than our prime minister.
He does, yes, and that's really, I mean, for a start, let's leave alone whether that's a good idea or not. But he doesn't. They don't get a lot, do they?
No.
And so, where's he got his money from?
Well, it wasn't from public speaking, because I remember he arrived here and it was $10,000 or some massive amount of money to get your photo taken with him at his speech. But when he got off the plane, the passenger sitting next to him, he said, I have a problem from the media too. So they had their photo taken together, and he had his photo taken with John Kizon. I thought, oh man, this is really cool.
Well, Despeen's saying she's had a photo with Bill Clinton.
How much did you pay for it? Nothing.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, well, so she showed his true worth, so she knows what he's worth. I mean, I remember when I was with the guys from the company, my trainers, and on one thing we were doing, and as we drove past the Washington Monument, I said, "Oh, that's a tribute to Bill Clinton," and I wasn't. They didn't appreciate my sense of humor. So some of them were very.
Yes, yeah. Look the other way.
Yeah, well, I had a member of the Capitol Police there who were very loyal, apparently.
Yeah.
Anyhow. But some of the guys do appreciate my sense of humor. There's not many, admittedly. Even my wife isn't one, I think.
Yeah, look, I do. I think it's wonderful.
So, okay, well, that's our politics at the moment. So worldwide politics are going to affect us in here in Australia, that's for sure. The only thing I really amazed at is that they keep promising all these jobs, but we've got 30,000 refugees on the dole. So... if all these jobs are here and available, why are they on the dole? Why are they on Social Security?
Well, if you listen to Peter Dutton, the immigration minister, he says it's because they can't speak English. That's what
do you remember
said.
when we first had Federation and they turned around, they said to bring in refugees and people coming into our country, that they must learn our language, which is English.
Yes, that's right.
Now, I remember when I first went to Dubai and I said, I can't accept the position, I appreciate it, but I don't speak one word of Arabic. They said that matters not, because everybody speaks English. Out of my team, 2 spoke English out of 100 men. And out of the other 300 men under my purview at the time, I would see reports written in English and the relieving officer would write the next report in Arabic. And I thought, that's really professional. That's really good security risk.
And how do you know what's being written?
Exactly. And then I interviewed some of them when I was doing my first risk assessment there within 48 hours of arriving. And I said to this guy that was on one security post at government headquarters, how long have you been here? 4 years. What do you do? Do you patrol the front of the building? No. You got a list of instructions? No. How long have you been here? 4 years. I'm going. And that was the standard, and still is, because Saudi won't accept any Syrians unless they got if they got a refugee thing, or any other Arab Muslim, and neither will Dubai or anything like that. They just won't accept any of the refugees. And they've got housing availability and everything throughout all the Middle East, but they're going to Italy. Oh my God, I'm going to be there in 3 days. They're going to Italy and everywhere else. I mean, so many I understand why African refugees are getting out of certain areas, but why the people smugglers don't care. They just get the money off them.
They get the money,
Yeah, that's all they're interested in. And then we have all the do-gooders. Oh, the little boy drowned on the beach, but they didn't say anything about his father was actually piloting the boat for the smugglers. Yeah. Getting paid for it.
Is that right? Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. And I'm going, why do we only get some of it? So now we've gone from politics to corruption, I guess.
We have.
But it's still involved. And corruption is getting really crazy now. Not only over there, but here. Some things are starting to come out. But I don't think enough. It's amazing. We get to a certain level, and then it stops. Have you heard any more about New South Wales and what was going on there, where mayors have had to stood down, and different members of the Liberal Party have different bank accounts. Have you heard any more?
No, that's all gone quiet.
Have you heard any more about Pell and the...
No, I have not a sausage.
We really have a good media here, don't we?
Well, a very selective one, you know.
I'm just really... Sometimes I think the corruption extends to... I'm just really flabbergasted. And I look at certain things, and we really give all this media outlet, and I even heard some guys this morning on Talkback, and they're really going on about how they've cut down smoking and all that sort of thing, and ignoring the fact that we've increased the use of meth by 580%, and it's going up. And now we don't have all these smokers taking up all the hospital beds and everything. And my wife's a smoker, by the way. She doesn't take up any hospital bed.
No.
And I'm getting cranky because I thought, well, have you worked out how many people with meth and ice and cocaine and everything are taking up hospital beds? Absolute drain.
Yeah.
But we can advertise alcohol sponsoring the AFL footballers and stuff like that.
We can.
Which probably does more, although it's legal, I know, but so smoking. Smoking companies aren't allowed, cigarette companies, tobacco aren't allowed to advertise.
No.
Why is alcohol?
More socially acceptable, I guess, these days. Perhaps, I don't know.
No, neither way. I mean, but the greatest combination to me is the alcohol and the drugs together. That's what causes most of the violence.
Yeah.
Unless you're from Sudan and Muslim and you want to run Taharush, which is group violence, which apparently is acceptable. Have you heard of any arrests over in Victoria?
No.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the one guy that was attacked here by 10 Sudanese Muslims because they said that he was racial. So it took 10 of them to kick him in the head in Hay Street Mall and everything. Nothing about that either.
No, that's all gone quiet as well.
I'm totally flabbergasted.
Well, the thing about it is that it is the whole media landscape is governed by or influenced unduly by those of a left-leaning and the hand-wringers and the do-gooders. This is the problem, and they stifle that sort of debate.
And the advertisers.
Do you think it's advertisers
Yes,
as well?
I think they're very wary about upsetting advertising companies, like large multinational companies. Now, what happened? Now, Malcolm Turnbull's running for office, and so is, well, everybody else, basically. So what's happened about, and they're going to give tax relief, but I really got angry the other day when I found out they've put up the electricity charges so much that I had a look at my wife's electricity bill, and although she's still in credit because she was one of the people that said, we should have this and we should have the 5 kilowatts and, blah, blah. So she believed all that. So she did that, thousands of dollars, did that. And but now the charges have gone up that much. This new electricity bill, she actually had $75 use deducted off the credit. But we're producing anywhere between 15 and 30 kilowatts per day with an average use of 6 to 7 per day. And I know we get charged at night because it doesn't store anything. But then I noticed, then she said, I rang up and I said, oh yeah, because my wife doesn't really get involved in too much. She said, and we haven't been getting my seniors discount because Colin Barnett cut it out.
Is that right?
Yeah, did you know that?
No.
I never look at it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so on the electricity, there's no seniors discount anymore and hasn't been since July last year, apparently.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I must have a look at some
That's
of
what I mean.
mine.
Some of these things keep getting snuck through. But, because I remember when the guy that might know a bloke got caught over things after he'd been made the God's answer to Ireland from Western Australia and came back and finally got caught. And I remember, so because of that, the government said, well, the government screwed up, the Premier screwed up, it's all corrupt, so we'll charge everybody $50 per car license fee to pay back the money. Not we'll do it, not we'll get it back from the corrupt people, but we'll charge all our citizens instead.
Yeah.
Now, that used to be on our car license, right? $50 for Rothwell's Inc.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
WA Inc.,
well,
that's right.
the word Rothwell's Inc. is gone, but the $50 is still there.
Yes, it is.
But now they're going to put it up to pay for another insurance scheme.
That's right, and
the
that's
no-fault insurance scheme.
That's quite expensive too.
But they've already got the $50 that's been going on for the best part of 15, 20 years. Work that out per vehicle per year.
Yeah.
So, excuse me?
Yeah. Where's it all coming from?
Is that corrupt?
Well,
I think it's corrupt because they're gaining an advantage because of their position.
That's right. They are not required to relinquish that income.
No.
They just keep it on because people forget.
So if I, and who gave approval for our Premier to spend tens of millions of dollars on an office for a visit by the Queen? That what say have we got?
Well, none.
I think it's disgusting. Do you know that refugees have more rights than us? Because we have no rights as far as, because we have no Bill of Rights.
No, we don't have
We have
any
a constitution
Bill of Rights.
only.
Yeah, that's right. The Americans have a Bill of Rights, don't they?
Most people do.
Yeah.
Even France, believe it or not.
Do they?
Yeah, they have a Bill of Rights.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can't stand on our dig at all and say, no, that's not right.
No.
That's very
But a refugee
scary.
can, because they give them the United Nations rights.
Well, perhaps I should pop up to Bali and come back on a boat.
We actually thought of that while I was in Thailand. And I said, why don't I just get really heavily tan and go back and speak Arabic? Or actually, why not Thai for that matter?
Yeah.
But do you know that one boat we turned around and refused to accept them was a boatload, and I noticed this didn't hit the media here. It hit it overseas. This is quite some time ago now, but it's happened more than once. And a boatload of from the West Papua, which isn't New Guinea, tried to get away from the Indonesian because they're getting killed. They're getting murdered and slaughtered up there like you wouldn't believe. And I got sent a photo of guys that our special forces trained, and there they are shooting down villages. So the training did good, SAS training. They did here.
Yeah.
It was executed. So a boatload was stopped of people from villages trying to get to Australia for safety, and they were turned back and returned.
Oh, my God.
And these are the people that were looking after our troops in World War II.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
There's
this doesn't
something
make sense. Now, that's only one that got reported, but and I think it might have got a little mention somewhere here in Australia, but there's been a few reported, and we're just turning them back. So that's very hush-hush.
Indeed it is. But, I mean, the reality is we shouldn't be encouraging that.
I don't believe, as far as I'm concerned, grab all those guys in Manus and send them up to Cambodia where we paid $55 million.
Yeah, get them out of there.
And send them up to the Cambodian $55 million thing where everybody we've sent so far wanted to go back to their own country. And besides
have they not worked that out yet, that's a good way of getting them to go back?
Well, not only that, 500 of them aren't acceptable here anyway. They're not refugees.
No.
That they know of.
Well, would that be true also of the Sri Lankans that came that were found here? They came down, and I think did they get to? It was Cocos Island. They got to
Cocos Island.
Yeah, that's right. And then they were just unceremoniously put on a plane and taken back to Sri Lanka.
That's exactly right, because there is no war in Sri Lanka. It was long over by then. They had an excuse before because of all the internal strife, but Sri Lanka had solved it all, so therefore they didn't have a wartime zone at all. But these are all technicalities, you know what I mean?
But
that's how we've changed.
The thing about that is that it might be technicalities, but we never get told about that sort of stuff. I mean, it's never reported to me. It's always about Australia is so heartless, and we don't do the right thing, but we do.
And now this idiot running around in government saying that we should allow 50,000, I think it was probably a Green.
It was.
50,000 more people in. Well, hello. America does that, 50,000.
Yeah.
They have 260 million people there, or it might be 360, I'm not sure. We have 25 million.
That's right.
Hello. How are we going to support the same? Pro rata per head of population, we do more.
Well, we do. We're one of the best. We're one of the best and one of the most compassionate. And the question that I ask, and I don't think that Peter Dutton did himself any favours by saying, well, they'll take Australian jobs. That's a bit too emotive. But what they will do is they will drain the things like Medicare and all of the other social security infrastructure.
Watch the doctors start charging on Medicare now because they've been given a wage freeze again. I mean, who else has had a wage freeze for 4 to 6 years? Because that's the truth of the matter. That's what it is.
But they come here because we have the best social security arrangements. It's the most generous that there is. And when you start allowing 50,000 people in here, is everybody going to be prepared to increase the Medicare levy so that everybody pays for these people?
No, I'm not.
That's not going to happen, is it?
I'm not. I mean, I don't even get anything. If I hadn't have gone, if my wife hadn't helped me out financially, I'd still be waiting to get cataracts done. I'd be blind now.
Is that right?
And I'm just thinking, this is really cool.
Yeah.
This is one time I wish I came to Australia as a non-Australian refugee.
Yeah.
It would have been done immediately. It's just amazing because that's what I read just recently. Some people have had all this medical treatment done as soon as they get here.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to be cleared medically before they
turn up. They're allowed in.
But at the refugee camps, that's what's done. It's a slow process. They've got to get everything done. And we're just taking on board anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
So to me, politically it's incorrect, and corruption-wise, I just think it's ridiculous. Somebody's got to be getting a benefit. And the benefits are top lawyers in this country aren't operating for these refugees and challenging court. And look at the guys that have gone to jail for terrorism here, who have been here illegally and had lawyers fight for them to stay here. And like one guy had 4 households and made over $1 million from Social Security, and they still not stopping him. Social Security is not interested. If I'm Muslim, that I've got 5 different women claiming 5 different children.
Yeah.
There's no, because as they said, we're not police.
That's right.
That's up to the government. So how much of that is happening out of 30,000?
Well, corruption,
Yes.
once again.
It goes back that way all the time.
Manifestly unfair.
Yep.
John, thank you so much.
I will say this, if anybody's holidaying in Costa del Sol,
Yeah, you'll
be careful.
Yeah.
Daesh claim that they want to kill at least 100 tourists. But
there is
undercover. Oh yes, and that's fact. And undercover, there are British SAS troops there, and will be all summer. While I'm in Madrid, I will not be going to the beach anyway,
No.
just in case.
And certainly, if you did, you wouldn't be using a lounge, would you?
Definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
John, thank you so much for being with us today. Fascinating discussion as always, and we look forward to catching up with you really soon.
I'll be back.
More on the Sattler Files soon.
This is the Sattler Files.